India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval met with Russia's first Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov in Moscow. The meeting is seen as a step towards preparing the ground for the Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to India. The Doval's meeting comes just days after he met with the Russian President in Moscow and he announced Vladimir Putin's visit to India. The Doval's Moscow visit comes right after the US imposed 25% additional punitive tariffs on India for purchasing Russian oil. The meeting with Russian Deputy Prime Minister also comes just a day after the Indian Prime Minister held a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin and has vowed to further deepen the India-Russia special and privileged strategic partnership. The timing of the engagement with Moscow indicates that New Delhi may not budge under pressure from the United States. And amidst these developments, the American President Donald Trump and the Russian President Vladimir Putin are all set to meet in Alaska on the 15th of August. Now, the Trump-Putin meeting comes at a very crucial stage. Russia, remember, has intensified its aerial bombardment in Ukraine, and Trump has repeatedly expressed his frustration over making no headway in talks with Putin. Now, despite issuing multiple ultimatums to the Russian president, Moscow has continued its offensive in Kiev. The focus now shifts to Alaska. At the Trump-Putin meeting, if the two leaders make progress in reaching a truce in Ukraine, it could come as a relief to New Delhi and it would take the heat off its ties with Moscow. The peace in Ukraine would also help New Delhi leverage its relationship with Russia to diffuse the tensions with the United States. All right, now joining us live from New Delhi is Dr. Tara Kartha, who is a former director of the National Security Council Secretariat and also a former senior fellow at the U.S. Institute for Peace. Dr. Kartha, thank you very much indeed, ma'am, for joining us here on WION. And let me in fact start off by asking you this. The fact that the United States of America has imposed 25% additional tariffs on India because the American president says India has trade relations with Russia, through which effectively India claims the American president is financing this war or helping Russia finance this war. With this Trump-Putin summit slated to take place in Alaska, how do you see this extremely complex situation unfolding from here?
Well, that announcement from President Trump, adding another 25%, came one day before the NSA was due to arrive in Moscow. So I think it was all along, he's been telling you that get Russia to the table. That is the message. I mean, you have the 25% tariffs, which is separate, which is on your trade, bilateral trade with Russia, with the US. But the oil trade was always a separate issue. Now, he's basically telling China, Brazil, India, get Russia to stop the war. Now, this message of his, when he says another 25% will come into effect, which originally started with, if you recall, that was the senator who brought in this threat of 500% tariffs on us. That is from 500, at least it's come down to 25%. But it came just a day before the NSA was supposed to meet Putin. So now in effect, that visit had officially nothing to do with the Ukraine war, and we have our own ties with Russia. But an ending to the Ukraine war is extremely good for us.
Right.
Because we very badly need those, I think you showed correctly, we need the weapons, and Russia is the only country which is prepared to give us some kind of make in India. I mean, they won't give you the core technology, I doubt it very much, but nonetheless, some amount of, basic co-production with India, especially also in nuclear energy. It's the only country which is tying up with you in nuclear energy. So it's important in its own right, but it's also important for us to get that Ukraine war stopping for our own interests.
This is what the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also said, where he said that, this is not a time of war and the way forward is through dialogue and to resolve it. But the fact of the matter is India is playing a very tight rope walk sort of a game here, because it wants its friendship with Russia, which has endured for decades, and it also wants to have a healthy relationship with the United States of America, which is an important trade partner. Now, this of course is a little speculative. In the event Putin and Trump are not able to come to an understanding to bring to an end this war in Ukraine, How do you think the Indian political establishment will take this forward then?
That is, I would in fact be more concerned, not concerned, I would speculate a little more if that deal is successful and the war does actually end. In which case, remember, US is a far larger trading partner than us. If I take 2021 figures, for example, which is when, US-Russia trade was its height, that was in 14 billion.
Right.
And ours was about 8 billion. So if you compare that, the US is a far more important trading partner for Russia than us. But on the other hand, we are the largest buyer of Russian weapons. So the two kind of evens out, but going forward, if, like I said, if this deal also works through, I don't see Trump being very happy if we buy Russian weapons. So
right.
I don't think this is over yet. If the deal falls through, you're back where you started, which is, well, we can't buy any more, Russian weapons anyway, because they don't have enough to give us. And your oil, you have, as the minister said, Hardeep Puri said, you've got about, I think now a basket of about 42 countries from whom you can buy. So it's not that big a deal for us. You can slowly start switching away from, it's not the best way to go. It certainly is not the best way to go, because in Asia, we like to keep our friendship strong. We like to keep Russia as your friend. You want to keep that strong. You don't want to go down that road. But, well, if those are the options in front of you. But I think the deal will go through. My sense is that it will.
Let's hope, of course, for the best. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Tarakatha, for summing it up so comprehensively for us. Thank you very much indeed, ma'am. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.